Brett, I'm going to turn to you first. You served in the Obama administration. I don't think a lot of people think that the Syria policy worked all that well for the Obama administration. What is the right policy?
Look, we need to have an engagement strategy that's not only military, it also has to be diplomatic and development oriented, because what we failed to do in Iraq was win the peace. And that, I think, was a key lesson learned. Unfortunately, it looks like we're making the same mistakes. And Trump's notion that somehow Saudi Arabia can foot the bill, that other nations in the region can supply troops is quite frankly misguided, because they're not necessarily working for America's national security interests.
Let's move to another area where diplomatic pressure seems to be key, and that is North Korea. We've just heard from Kim Jong-un, who's given an address, and basically he said, we'd like to make nice with the Americans, but I'm paraphrasing, we can be nasty as well. This is specifically what he said.
I am willing to sit with the U.S. president any time in the future and will strive to produce outcomes that would be welcomed by the international community. However, if the United States does not deliver its promise and misjudges our people's patience, making unilateral demands to continue sanctions and put pressure on us, we will have no choice but to seek a new path to protect the country's independence, interests, and peace on the Korean Peninsula.
So, Brad, the president's met with Kim Jong-un once already. Is it in the United States' best interest to have another meeting at this point? I must say, in the cabinet meeting, which has been going on at the White House, President Trump said he got a letter from Kim Jong-un. At the same time, he's not in a rush to have that meeting. Is it in our national interest?
Absolutely not. The meeting with Kim Jong-un that took place over the summer was premature. And what we've seen play out over the last several months is, quite frankly, the North Koreans are playing us. We have gotten no results. We've gotten no concessions. The notion that Trump goes back into a meeting with Kim Jong-un without any deliverables on the table is, quite frankly, diplomatic malpractice.
We just had President Xi say the following: China must and will be united. We make no promise to renounce the use of force and reserve the option of taking all necessary means. No one and no party can change the fact that Taiwan is part of China. And this, Brett, of course, comes against the president of Taiwan saying, you know what, we think we should be separate. We are headed toward possibly a conflict there, and the United States seems to be siding with Taiwan.
Yeah, actually, Xi's remarks were somewhat more tempered than earlier statements that he has made. In fact, I think one of the notable comments that he had during that address was taking credit for Chinese influence operations during the Taiwanese election. So clearly, China believes that they are exerting more control over Taiwan. But yes, the risk remains very real there. And quite frankly, without a strong, steady American position on Taiwan, we are at risk for a conflict.
Again, I mean, you served under President Obama. Is this that radically different from the turn that at least President Obama talked about making? Because part of that was beefing up our military presence in the area, as I recall.
No, and I think there actually has been a fair amount of consistency between the Obama and Trump administrations when it comes to the South China Sea, when it comes to our military posture in Asia. That being said, I am worried over the weekend the agreement between South Korea and the United States for the bases and the military presence there expired, and it doesn't seem that we're close to getting a deal. That's got to worry folks on the peninsula and in the region.
What we haven't talked about is cybersecurity, something you know a great deal about. How big a risk is that, and where is the risk likely to come from? Is it state actors or non-state actors?
It will be both, and I think what we're going to see is that the last elections we just came through were worse than we recognized at the time. We're only now coming to appreciate, because of the Mueller investigation and the scrutiny that's brought, how involved, how sophisticated Russia was. We're now entering 2019, the presidential campaign. We will see aggressive actions again by Russia, perhaps by other countries as well. And then there are a lot of non-state actors that are going to get into the game, both for politics, but we saw over the last couple of weeks how even the private sector newspapers are increasingly targeted.